Hey, welcome to Chatterbox Bearcats. It is the midweek show. I'm your host, Nick Niehaus, joined always by Eric Lilly. Now, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll probably notice I got a different setup for today's show because I'm moving. But also, more importantly, if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to us and also give us a like on this video as well. And if you're listening in the car, on Spotify, on iTunes, make sure you give us 5 stars to subscribe to us on there as well. It goes a long way. It really helps us out. Um, Lily, it has been a tough week to be a Bearcat fan, and also tough week for me and probably you because there is a lot of awful takes, at least coming out of my mouth from the non-con in the preseason about this team. I wish we could scrub it off the internet. People are probably, I mean, if you hate me, just go back and listen to what I said about this basketball team because I was saying top 10, final 4 possibly. My goodness, it sounds awful looking back. Can you, as the eternal optimist, tell me that maybe we can turn things around? I tweeted this yesterday. Um, Arizona beat West Virginia on the road by 19 points, and West Virginia beat Kansas. It's a tough league. Can we turn the ship around?
Arizona State is currently beating Kansas at halftime, just to make
Yeah.
everybody feel better. Um, yeah, sure, but that doesn't mean this is good. The losing streaks where you look like shit are the worst ones because it's just hard to see it changing, but it does change. Things can change, and we have a lot of look at Dayton. Things have changed since our game with Dayton. Um, there's plenty of teams going through bad spells right now. I mean, Florida just beat Tennessee by 50, whatever that was. That was one of the weirder scores I've ever seen. I think I'm watching our game and I see the score on the bottom line. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? But this is college basketball. And the one thing that and you know me, I'm the optimist. Something that's keeping me going is just like the culture, the stuff that Wes is good at. Like I know right now this week that they're practicing and that they think they can beat Kansas, while we all think we've got no fucking shot. It's like it reminds me of the BYU last year when no one expected to win that game and we just basically dog walked them. And not saying that's going to happen here. I do think we're going to lose on Saturday, but it's got to start right after that for me. Like we have to see changes. You can't just have good culture, right? You have to look good. And the whole Mick thing was it didn't always look good when we were winning. You know, like I remember so many games we had like 18 points at halftime and we'd end up winning. And it's just like you're leaving the building like, yeah, we won, but Jesus Christ, guys, like what is going on here? And it feels like that. Like we want to see a good product and win. And right now we're seeing an awful product and losing. So, but it doesn't mean it's the one thing I disagree with right now. A lot of the narratives and stuff is that the season's over. It's not. It's just not. So hopefully they get better.
Look, there's a lot of pissed off Bearcat fans after the loss against Baylor, and me being one of them. And I was fully expecting myself to come in and play that role of the pissed off fan. Like I'm going to come with, just dumb, irrational takes on this podcast and pound my fist on the desk. And I actually might end up doing that. But I thought that was going to be my role. And then, of course, when I sit down and get behind the mic, I'm much more calm. With that being said, I'm going to come out with some pissed off takes. When I watched the Baylor game, my first take: this bench stinks. Our bench stinks. Day Thomas, I'm going to exclude him from the bench talk because is he pushing for Jizzle's starting role? I don't think you do that just because you just don't want to pull a kid from the starting lineup, kill his confidence, especially as sophomore when he won that role over the other guy in the offseason. I don't think that's necessarily the case, but for this statistic, I have two awful statistics. I just tweeted it tonight that I have maybe one of the worst basketball statistics I've ever seen. The first one, and again, I'm excluding Day Thomas. So outside of Day Thomas, in the last 3 losses, the bench has scored a total of 10 points. 10 points from our bench in 3 games. Am I overreacting to thinking that that is one of the worst stretches or just statistics like of a relevant team that you're a fan of?
It's bad, especially for a team we thought was deep.
Yeah, because again, like somebody could be like, well, Kansas last year played 6 guys. I mean, that was their rotation. They played 6 guys. But I even checked the box there. We had 9 play in the Kansas State game, 10 play in Arizona, and 12 played in the game against Baylor. Now, granted, Rayvon Griffith got 1 minute. CJ Frederick got a minute. With that being said, I mean, CJ Frederick, like, you're in there, maybe scheme him open, get him coming off a pick or something, figure it out. 10 points in 3 games. That is awful because people are going to point to our best players, Seamoss, Jizzle, and Dylan Mitchell, only scoring 10 points against Baylor total as well. So it's like 2 ways to look at it. Is it our star players not producing outside of Dan Skillings? Because Dan Skillings has scored 18 points in each of the last 3 games. Or is it our bench? Because they're not scoring either. It's a catch-22. You can go either way. What do you think? Is it the stars or the bench?
It's the bench. Now, the argument's a little worse than it was a couple days ago, but I think our top six have been good this year. I think they've all shown signs of being better than last year. Obviously, with Jizzle last night, it's not looking good. But like, we lost the Kansas State game by 3 and the Arizona game by 5, and our bench did nothing in either games. Like, that's the fine margins. And we came into the season thinking we were deep. I think it's the bench, and I honestly, I think it's Wes's fault. You don't hear me say that much, but I did have a couple issues with Wes last year with the lineups. I thought it was a little overstated by fans, or just wrongly stated. I think we lost games last year. Like, I think Oklahoma State game at home at the end of the first half, if I'm remembering right, we put in that dog shit lineup with the double bigs and some bench players with them too. And we just got cooked for 4 minutes to end the half. It's like, we cannot keep getting smoked with these lineups. And we're asking for it because the bench lineup that is going in, all the players that are in slumps are playing together. No one in that lineup can score. Like, Day can get to the bucket, but he's not like, look at Roach yesterday. Like, he's not creating his own shot. He's not, and I love Day. He can get to those threatening positions. He beats his guy, gets in those areas. But when he's surrounded by bench players who are on funks right now, like Betsy missed another open 3, whatever. How are these guys supposed to get integrated during the Big 12 when they're surrounded by all the other guys that are having trouble getting integrated? Like, stagger your lineups. Keep Skillings in. Keep Seamoss in. Play Page with the starters. Maybe they'll be better. The whole lineup matters. And that really has been bothering me. And I hope it's not because Mick used to bother me with lineups some. I think it's got to change. I think he has to switch. Wes has to switch how he's staggering his lineups.
Yeah, and I want to clarify again, like, that stat I just tossed out with 10 points the last 3 games. Like that's excluding Day Thomas, just because I view him essentially as our 6th starter because I think he's played that well. And I'm curious your thoughts, just if you can give me a quick answer on, do you think anybody would argue that our 3 best players so far, at least in Big 12 play, let alone the year, have been Dan, Day, and Aziz?
That's it for me.
That's what I would
even
say.
if you count the year, that's tougher because Mitchell and CMOS played pretty well out of conference.
Yeah.
But
at least recently, I feel like
recently, 100%.
Those 3 have stepped up. Those 3 have
Mhm.
absolutely stepped up. They deserve, because there's a lot of there's a lot of pissed off fans, a lot of negativity surrounding this program. I don't want to just be a guy who just comes on the microphone and just spews negativity for 50 minutes. Give those 3 some credit. Aziz Bendego has been awesome. He's not somebody who's going to get you a basket with his back to the basket. That's not his game. It's like asking a fish to climb a tree. I don't know. I just came up with something on the spot.
That works.
I guess. But with what he does well, he's been doing it very well. He's been tough. He hasn't been soft. Grabbing rebounds. The lob game's not there, so it's not like he's scoring. But like for what he his block, like that chase down block in transition against Baylor was awesome. Like he has been good. So I want to give some guys some credit. And now I'm going to criticize some guys after I give some credit. Connor Hickman was recruited to this team to be a spark shooter off the bench. Actually got some starter minutes. I commented on Chuck and Houdini's show like 5 times this statistic. Do you know which one I'm going to say?
I have a guess.
Okay, so Connor Hickman has made 2 3-pointers since November 24th. Now, obviously, that's a cherry-picked stat. Again, I feel like I'm cherry-picking stats, but that's after the game he actually scored against Georgia Tech. But since Georgia Tech, which was November 23rd, he has scored 2 3-pointers. That's inexcusable. What do you, yeah.
So I was listening to the BCJ pod before this, and it sounds like Hickman's out, like he's hurt and he's going to miss time. So he's been a huge disappointment. The 3-ball laser thing he's doing hits the front of the rim every time, and if it doesn't hit the front of the rim, it hits a random part of the backboard, just somewhere around there. Whatever. Just let him sit, figure it out. And honestly, maybe it's an opportunity here to like shorten the rotation. Day gets his minutes. Maybe Frederick.
Yeah. Well, and I asked the question, and again, the only reason I feel okay like criticizing and singling out players is because they're professionals at this point and they get paid. Or else I wouldn't be, 10 years ago, I probably wouldn't be singling a guy out like that because I'm not on here to be negative, right? Like I'm not on here to single out college athletes. But with that being said, let's call a spade a spade. I'm sure he would be the first to tell you he's not playing well. So I asked you, is it the bench or the stars? You say the bench. Is it Wes or the players? That has been a topic on Twitter the last 24 hours. I like doing the show where I just play the hits. Like you gotta give the people what they want to hear, and these are the questions that they want to hear. I'm curious your answer. I have mine.
I guess Wes. It's Wes plus missing open shots. We're putting ourselves in a position at the start of every game where we miss shots. And like when was the last time in a Big 12 game where we like just started out well and controlled the game, We're not doing ourselves any favors with how these teams are defending us, like Baylor, Villanova, Arizona, Kansas State, all these they're not like scared of us shooting over them, and they're just guarding the lobs. So make your shots early, like make them make an adjustment. Like every team's going in with the game plan and they're able to execute it, because we can't even challenge that. Like we need to make them question their game plan, like change, make adjustments, etc. And we're not doing that. So it's on the players to make the shots. Like this is one of the worst slump, is where you're not running good offense and you're missing the open shots. We need to start making the open shots and seeing if that opens up anything for us. And so I'd put, like, me, I'm with jump shots, I'm pretty laid back. It's like, if you miss, it's like, it happens, but you need to make your shots at the same time. So I'm going to say like 25% players, 75% Wes for not figuring it out yet. Now we still have a little time here, but it's pretty urgent right now.
Yeah, look, it ultimately falls on Wes, obviously. Now I'm going to pull my favorite stunt and say, in my opinion, I think it's 51% the players, 49% Wes. So I'm going to go with the players. At least the Arizona game was most glaring, just because we had so many missed open shots. So that one, I would say, God, that Arizona game. And you know what? They came back, and I'll put that on the players. So credit to the players there. But Chuck has said this a few times. Like, when's the last time? Actually, he has two good points. When's the last time where we saw a game and we're like, man, Wes really outcoached the other coach? Like, that doesn't happen. But also, when's the last time Wes has won a game he wasn't supposed to? And those are his two favorite things to say. And he's right. He's right. We don't win games we're not supposed to. I want to put into a little perspective, though, this bad stretch. We're sitting before the year, and we've had, look, I mentioned off the top of the show, we've had a lot of bad takes regarding this team. I have been so wrong about this team. One thing we were not wrong about, which we thought we might have been, is that this is probably the toughest stretch of the season. We said that when the schedule came out. Then Arizona loses some games. Baylor loses games. Those are two really good teams. Like Norchad Omier is All-American level. Caleb Love, All-American level.
And elite coaches.
And elite coaches.
Kansas State, not so much, but yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm kind of omitting Kansas State, right? That's a bad loss. Well, it's not a bad loss. It's a road loss. But like, this is still a tough stretch. Like that, like things haven't changed. It's not like, I'm saying this with the notion that these two teams that we just lost to are going to be really good. So I don't think I say that because I don't think all hope's lost. Do I think we're as good as we thought? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Do I think we can still be a tournament team? 100%. I think we can. But it's hard at this point to look at the schedule and just check off a W on a team. It's really hard. So that's kind of where I'm at. Final thoughts about the Baylor game specifically, even though I know we haven't really touched on like the Baylor game in specifics, but like, do you have any thoughts on the specifics of the game yesterday?
Not too much. I thought like that first spell, it felt like we were hanging in there because they couldn't miss. And it was like 11-9. And it didn't look good, though. I mean, we started the game with basically a shot clock violation, I think. And then there were signs that things could get out of hand, but we were hanging in there. So I remained calm. And then Wes put in the bench lineup that no one wants to see. And that's when it all started. It went from 11-9 to 17-9 and never got back in it. So, yeah, I thought Dan had moments, still some frustrating stuff, but Dan and Aziz and Day were probably the only people that showed even flashes.
Yeah, we'll get into the lineups. There's probably people who are like yelling at their radio for us to talk about the lineups and whatnot. Like, we're getting to that. We have a mailbag segment. I probably should have teased this off the top. We have a mailbag segment we're talking about. We're going to wrap up some football portal talk as well, and some other stuff. So we'll get to the lineups. That's one of the questions I was asked. But I want to go through. Here is something that we're a good defensive team. We are. I asked you, is it the stars or the bench? I'm going to go through every single, and I put air quotes, superstar that we faced. And I'm not counting non-con. Like, I'm sure there's some, SWAC player of the year candidates that we've played. I don't care. And I might have missed somebody, Lily, but as far as I know from my, knowledge of college basketball, here are the stars that we have played and how they have fared against us. And this is a theme that I've been doing the past couple weeks. Eric Dixon of Villanova, 31-7. Zach Fremantle of Xavier, 18-7. He had 16 in the first half. Thankfully, we shut him down in the second. Coleman Hawkins of Kansas State, 20-10 on 7 of 13 shooting. Doug McDaniel, he had 17-7. Caleb Love, I want to emphasize this statistic, and I'll wrap my thoughts around it later. 3 of 15 from the floor, he did have 12 points. And Norchad Omier, 18 points on 7 of 9. And VJ Edgecombe, he had 18 points as well. That's the 5-star freshman for Baylor. And of course, Norchad is 30 years old. So our stars, okay, think about that. Every statistic I have just put out there against Cincinnati on the other team star player, damn good games. Nothing crazy other than Eric Dixon, 31-7, but pretty almost every single person over 15 points outside of Caleb Love. Our star, CMOS, Baylor, 5 points. Arizona, 9 points. Kansas State, 4 points. I mentioned it earlier. Thankfully, Dan Skillings has scored 18 points in each of the last 3 games. But I emphasize Caleb Love. He had a bad game against Cincinnati. Still carved out 12 points. That's just not what we're getting from our star player, CMOS. A bad game from a star player is 12 points on 3 of 15 shooting. He's scoring 5 points. There's levels to this. So, yeah, I do think ultimately, our bench is not helping us by any means, but man, we need CMOS to step up. Is that just me?
It's so that's all true. The thing that is bothering me, and it's kind of an extension of what you're saying, is how I'm just jealous of the way those guys are scoring and the spots on the court that they're scoring. It's with Dixon and especially last night with Edgecombe and Roach, they're just getting the spots and making the bucket. It looks easy, and we're not getting any easy baskets. It feels like even when CMOS has big games, it's holy shit, how did he do that again? It's they're long threes. Yeah. The announcer last night even mentioned why is he shooting it from that far? We all know he can make it, but
yeah, I liked that shot.
It was a great shot.
I didn't mind it. It almost went in. I was like, oh my God, that actually looks like it's gonna be.
He didn't do any prep, did he? Because that's what he usually shoots. But the point is, other team stars are making buckets from high percentage spots, and they look comfortable doing it.
So do you think that's a coaching thing? I'm sorry to cut you out, but do you think that is do you think that scheme
I think,
or do you think it's just there's levels to being a star, and CMOS, yeah, he might be our star, but he's not. I mean, he's not Eric Dixon. He's not, Norchad Omier. Do you think it's just the talent level?
Yeah, I just don't think we have a guy at that next level. Yeah. And our thing was supposed to be depth, and we don't have that right now. And I'm not sure we're going to get that back. We need to figure something out, but I think our depth might be gone for this season. But that next level of stardom is creating your own shot. And it feels with CMOS, it's more reliant on the system, which isn't an insult. He's a really good player. I think our best like if we were going to have a star emerge this season, and I know you know what I'm about to say. I think it would be Dan. Just because he just does stuff. Like he can create his own. He's a weird player, quirky, chaotic. It doesn't look pretty, but if anyone on this team is going to do it, it's probably him. CMOS is still going to have crazy games, but when we're playing poorly and teams are just guarding us and it looks so easy, the only way CMOS is changing that game is with NBA threes. That's it.
Yeah. I like Danny. He's been good, despite that last minute shot he took against Arizona. Other than that, I think he's looked good. I have an outcry, Lily. I have an outcry, and we're going to play a clip here, and I want to hear your thoughts on it. But I need not a star player to emerge. I need a leader to emerge. John Newman from last year, for example. A vocal leader to hold players accountable, because I think what upset most Bearcat fans against Baylor was the lack of tenacity. I don't want to say effort, because that's such a cheap out. Like, they quit. It's lack of effort. I don't think they didn't try, but we need some dogs. Like Huggins had dogs. Mick Cronin recruited dogs. Like, we need tenacity. We need John Newman. We don't have a leader. I have an old man take. This is just a perfect example. Like, it's a perfect example of a Wes Miller coach team. We're down double digits. This is such an old man take. Oh God, I can't even. It's not going to feel good coming out of my mouth, but whatever. We're down double digits. There's a timeout on the floor, foul, whatever. We're going to commercial, and Dan Skillings, like after the whistle, is like kind of jokingly like cutting to the basket. He has the ball. He goes through his legs and throws up a layup after the timeout, and we're down double digits. And I'm just sitting there pissed off. We're losing double digits. We're about to lose 3 in a row, and he's just like playing around on the court. What the hell? Be pissed off, Dan. Like why are the fans more pissed off than you? Like I get that's Dan's personality. I don't want to take away personality. I think, that's why we recruit guys. That's why Wes gets guys. He's a likable coach, but oh my goodness, have some accountability. You're down double digits and you're like throwing the ball through your legs after the, whatever. Like, it's such an old man take, but I feel like that's something I noticed where I'm like, goodness gracious, like we need some accountability. Before I play this clip, and I'm sure people after what I just said are going to know what I'm talking about. Am I an idiot? Like, am I going crazy for something stupid like that?
I think usually fans like fans like us that watch every game can tell like who a leader is on a team. It's like obvious. And with this team, it's hard to tell. So I'm not sure, like, it goes along with our depth. Maybe it's just a leadership committee. I don't know. But there isn't like an obvious leader. Maybe it's Dylan.
We need like some sort of accountability or some sort of vocal leader. Like, we need something. And like, again, I don't want to pick on Dan. I love Dan, and he's obviously our best player. He's been playing really well. So if anybody does have a right to kind of fool around on the court, it's him. And like, again, that's the way sports are, is like have some personality. But yeah, like, I cut you off, but like we don't have a vocal leader, right?
Yeah, I mean that was
can't tell.
My point was already made. I don't know. We don't know. Usually it's obvious.
Yeah. Well, here's an extreme example of accountability, and we don't necessarily want this, but this was interesting to see on Tuesday night. If you didn't know, UCLA lost to Michigan. Mick Cronin had a press conference. I'll leave it at that, and I'm about to clip it and play it.
But we don't play. We're soft. So don't tell me you want to win. Like, just don't tell me you want to win. So don't tell me you want to win. It's crazy, and it's every day. I'm tired of it. It's every day. I have the most energy of anybody at practice every day. I have I'm upset with everybody in that locker room, my assistant coaches and my players. I mean, I don't need to do anything else. I almost got 500 wins. I'm only 53. I mean, it's a joke. It's a joke. But yet I come in and I have more passion and energy and pride than everybody in. That's the problem. So what the truth of it is, Ben, it's really hard to coach people that are delusional. The hungry dog gets the bone. We got guys that think they're way better than they are. They're nice kids. They're completely delusional about who they are.
Look, I miss that. I miss it, but that, like I said, is an extreme example. I don't think Wes should be calling out his players like that necessarily to like they're delusional or whatever. We need some level of that. I feel like we're missing that with Wes. Like he's everybody's best friend. And again, like he's a player's coach. Like it's such. I'm feeling myself like I'm saying these takes. I'm saying this out loud. And then part of me is like, no, Nick, shut up. Like this is who Wes is. This is why he recruits who he does and why he gets the players. But like I want some of that. I really do. And not like again, I keep saying it's an extreme example. Like I don't need Wes calling out his players. And he might be. Look, we're not in the locker room. Maybe he is holding his players accountable. I don't know. What do you think about that whole Mick Cronin rant calling his players soft?
I'm weird. The thing that like stuck with me in that is how he always craps on his assistant coaches with the players. Like why? I've never heard another coach do that. Like he groups them in with the players. Like they are your staff. Like this is not. I don't get it. Very unique approach to almost like. I don't know. I kind of miss it. It's so funny, but
I miss it a little bit.
Yeah,
I think, look, and I even tweeted it. I'm like, man, like we could use this in Cincinnati. Like, I don't think we necessarily can use just crap it on your players, but I'd like to see some sort of fire and some sort of like, other than Wes being like, oh, I'm pissed off. Like, go like, we played soft. I don't know. Like something like that. Like I feel like he is afraid to say anything of that nature.
And I've seen some people like it kind of ties in with this of talking about our body language and not like that it's low effort, stuff like that. It just looks a little off. I firmly believe it's because we cannot make a damn shot. Like the last 3 games, we're not making shot. Like they're not quitting. They're not playing hard. It's just when you just keep doing the things you're practicing and it's just not working, I think that's just what it looks like. I think Wes holds guys accountable. It's just, but we don't know. I just think he does. So like you said, it's hard to tell. Mick has a very unique approach to doing that though. It's hilarious, especially when he's not coaching your team. It's like just hard to not laugh at it.
There's nothing better than a good old-fashioned Mick Cronin presser rant. Like
and this isn't like a Zoomer rant. He doesn't hate Zoomers. He's been doing this for 15 years.
Yeah.
He said the same damn thing 15 years ago. It's not like he hates this generation. They're not playing hard, stuff like that. It's just how Mick motivates guys.
And like I said, those guys that he had was they were dogs. Like they were tough like that. Those are the guys he recruited. So like, that if he's calling his players soft, I mean, maybe they are out in California. I don't know. I haven't watched a whole lot of UCLA, but like they weren't soft here in Cincinnati, and he still would call them soft. That brings me to my next little segment. Wes Miller hot seat talk. I put it out on Twitter. Put a poll out. I actually got a ton of votes. Usually I get like 50 votes. I got 225 votes. Now I worded it.
Hot topic.
Yeah, I probably worded it incorrectly. I said, "Is Wes Miller on the hot seat?" I probably should have worded it, and maybe people took it this way anyway. Should Wes Miller be on the hot seat? 51. My favorite number in these percentages. 51% said yes. 51% think Wes Miller is on the hot seat. Do you? Do you think it?
I mean, the answer is no. So 51% are wrong.
Yeah, they are wrong.
But-
Should be. Should he be? Is I guess the question.
And the answer is still no, because we have let's see here. How many games? 17 games left.
Yeah.
But fans, we love to entertain this stuff. I mean, I see people tweeting out Wes Miller's buyout like it's Scott Satterfield situation here. What's going on, guys? I don't know. It's a marathon, and we absolutely have to get better. This has been like the most, like, this took me back to the brawl. Like after the brawl, like, do you remember that feeling? We lost to Presbyterian, Marshall, and then just got smoked by Xavier, who wasn't even like better than us that year. And then we're like the face of national TV for just, getting in a fight. And it's like the season's over, right? Now, obviously that was much earlier in the season, but every year we see teams just emerge in February and March. We can be one of those teams. We have enough talent. Not saying, I will say I've discounted, I'm the optimist here. I have totally discounted the fact or the chance that we could be an elite team. They beat me down here a little. I've given that up. It doesn't mean we can't go on a run, though. And it's just, the hot seat talk always cracks me up because no, he's not on the hot seat, and no, he shouldn't be. No one's going to pay that shit. Especially when Wes is a great politician, great fundraiser, everything off the court. He's like an athletic director's dream. This isn't Mick, like where Mick put in zero effort to being likable, fundraising. He thought he could win everybody over, like from that Huggins debacle, by winning. If Mick put in like 15%, like just a little effort into being likable, I think he might still be here. Like, that's the thing. Is like he just irritated so many people. Wes is like the best at it. He's not on the hot seat. It's not even close. He would have to miss the tournament this year and next year, I think, to get fired.
Yeah, and I'm probably a little bit at fault for like perpetuating this conversation because like I'm the one who tweets it and puts the poll out. But like,
it's sports talk,
Yeah, like I like the engagement in terms of like I'm not like engagement farming. Like I don't have a blue check where I get paid off of this, right? Like I just am curious everybody's thoughts, and I like the interaction, so I want to know where everybody stands on this. I say no too. Like I like Wes Miller. I replied this too. I was like, hey, Wes Miller is making me not like Wes Miller, and I love Wes Miller. Like that's my, like, that sounds dumb, but like that's my thought process. Like I love Wes Miller, but it's getting a little hard. It's getting a little hard. Like, please win some games,
I mean,
Wes.
To that point, like, me, I mean, I keep saying this. I always try to like see the long-term picture and be positive when I believe in someone. That's how I am with Wes. Last night was the first time where I ever even like considered that he could fail here. The first time ever. Like, it's never even crossed my mind. Like, I just laugh at the people who think that. So there is something to that.
Yeah.
But it's January 8th. So,
well, let's put it in perspective. Year 4 for Wes Miller. I went through, I checked the records for year 4 for Bob Huggins and year 4 for Mick Cronin. Now, Lily, I want to preface this with I was born in 97. So my perspective on when we made the Final Four in Bob Huggins' tenure, I had no perspective. I didn't know what year we made it in Bob Huggins' tenure. Now, I could have looked it up and whatever, but like I knew we made it, not necessarily super early on, but year 3, Bob Huggins made the Final Four. Year 4, 27-5, 8-2 in the Great Midwest Conference, lost in the Elite Eight in overtime. And then, like I mentioned, we went to the Final Four the year before. So year 4 for Bob Huggins. Now, granted, the guy's a legend. Year 4 for Mick Cronin. 19-16, 7-11, and 11th in the Big East. And they lost to Dayton in the NIT. Should that make fans feel a little bit better about Wes Miller. Now, as I'm saying that, everything changes, and look, the world changes. Players had to sit out a year for transferring. You had to go the JUCO route to turn it around in 1 or 2 years. So things are different. But with that being said, should that make people feel a little bit different about how they're treating Wes?
No. But, this new era where you can build teams in one off season and be a tournament team. Back in the day, that's not how it worked. But Wes is approaching it that way. So there is that. But you don't have to go to the grocery store to get a Kit Kat bar. You can go to the gas station. There's things you can do. You can build your team faster. You can fill out your roster in more creative ways than you used to be able to. I think, Wes started in the AAC. That first year, he was an AAC coach. Then we got the invite to the Big 12. I think Wes was kind of AAC building. So I throw that first year out the way. I think there was a shift in his strategy and almost restarted things. I appreciate that he was aiming high early with recruiting. He was trying to get guys that didn't really want to be in the AAC to come to the AAC. He missed, and then we end up with guys that's his backup plans were shit. I don't even want to go through the names, but Ezekpe is the first one that comes to mind of backup plans that sucked. But he was aiming high, and everyone was excited because it's he's not like Mick. He's going for these guys. He's not leaving the gym when he sees blue blood coach walk in. It does matter that you can grow. Look at Pittsburgh with Jeff Capel. I don't know. He's in year 7. He's only made one tournament, but the first 4 years were awful, and they stuck with him. I don't know if they were seeing athletic directors and donors. They see it through a different lens than we do as fans. And we know Wes is checking off those boxes for donors and the AD. They love him. So he does have that 4-year thing going, 5-year thing going. But it's not an excuse. This team is good enough. It needs to make the tournament. That's just that's it, right?
I think if look, I'm a Wes Miller truther. I stand by him, and I think if we miss the tournament, I'm out. So I think that's it. I'll be kind of by his side until then, unless it's an absolute disaster. But if we miss the tournament, I'm gone. I'm out on him. You went off mute. You have something to say before I move on to Kansas?
We're gonna make the tournament.
Okay, I like that. Moving on to Kansas. I feel like this is an easy team to preview. What you see is what you get. A beatable team. I'll say that again. A beatable team. Beatable by Cincinnati? But Missouri, Creighton, and West Virginia beat them. Those aren't world beaters. With that being said, they just smoked UCF by 52. You gave us a little update earlier in the show that they were losing to Arizona State at halftime. So they're beatable. They are. It's the Hunter Dickinson show. He's an All-American, 16-10. He's averaging. That'd be points and rebounds, obviously. This cracks me up. Zeke Mayo. And look, there's idiots all over the internet. All over it. Idiots in sports as well. I remember when Zeke Mayo hit the portal because he's a Lawrence. He's from Lawrence. And am I I say this behind a microphone, and I worry that I'm missing Lawrenceburg or Lawrenceville or something. It's just Lawrence, right? Give me a yes.
Hero. He's a hometown hero.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. But it's just Lawrence. I feel like I'm just because I think Lawrenceburg is Indiana right next to us. Anyway, that was so incredibly stupid, but we're leaving that in. Anyway, my point being, I remember seeing a Kansas fan on the internet, whether it was Twitter, whether it was whatever. He was like, I don't know if Zeke Mayo's a take at Kansas. And then everybody had to argue for him, like, he's a hometown kid. He's doing great at, I think it was South Dakota State. Well, with that being said, like I mentioned, people are idiots. He's averaging 14 points. He's their second leading scorer on this team, and he's a stud. DeJuan Harris, he's Perry Ellis. He's been there forever. And KJ Adams is their version of Justin Jackson. And then they have Flory Badunga, which I don't have to get into that. But I just rattled off pretty much all their guys, other than, guess what? AJ Storr, the number one portal get of the year, he only gets 19 minutes a game. So what do you think about all that?
You know what that means, man. He's dropping 30 on us.
I was going to say, yeah.
We're going I'm driving to Kentucky on Saturday morning and getting that points, rebound, assist over. Yeah. We're hitting that. Kansas is funny though. Like I follow on the Bearcat Bunch account. I follow at least 5 accounts from every team in the Big 12 to try to, like, it's an aggregating account. Like I try to just keep UC fans informed on the league, us, other teams. And sometimes it's 10 accounts. The Kansas fans, after the Creighton, Missouri, West Virginia losses, there were people saying fire Bill Self. It was a full-blown spiral, like the shit we're seeing now with us. And I'm not saying they fixed their problems, but like it's just an example that like we're not the only team out there going through shit. Like Dayton, what do you think Dayton fans are saying right now? Like Chuck in the chat says Dayton sucks. Dayton doesn't suck. They just suck right now. And we suck right now. Kansas sucked a week ago. They're on a huge run right now. They're smoking Arizona State, by the way.
Oh.
Because Zeke Mayo has 17 points.
Yeah.
So
he's a stud.
Yeah. It's just, this is college basketball. And I keep going back to that BYU game last year where I thought we had no chance of winning and we dog walked them. Kansas is the oldest team in the country. They're tall. They have a top 5 defense. It's probably the last team we'd want to face right now. I'd rather face Houston and Iowa State right now just because they're like crazy. You know, maybe something happens. Kansas is very conservative with their defense. They rebound great defensively, and they sit back like the exact way these teams have been doing versus us. I think we're going to lose. That's the first time I've said that all year, I think. It's just the last team I want to play right now. They don't crash the offensive boards because they're running back to force teams to play half-court offense. It's like, no, we don't want that right now because our offense looks like shit. We need to force turnovers. We need to get in transition, transition opportunities, and we just can't get in them right now. And a team like Kansas they're built to not get in those situations. So not good. And Flory has 6 blocks like last game after only having 2 as his career high before that. They're starting to figure themselves out, I think. Although they're playing UCF and Arizona State, so I should be careful here. Like maybe they're still in a funk and we don't know it. Maybe that's the one thing we can hold on to. They play slow on defense. We will go right into that trap. Fast on offense, so we cannot turn the ball over. We have to play a perfect game on Saturday. Offensive rebounds, don't turn the ball over. Great half-court defense, make some shots early. Everything has to go right, and it just doesn't feel like it's going to.
We're approaching an hour, so I want to kind of wrap up Kansas because, I mean, frankly, you guys don't need to hear us talk about Kansas, but I'm going to finish it with one little kind of personal note of what I think about Kansas. Here's a good example of how much talent they have. Shaquille Moore, somebody probably nobody has ever heard of that's listening to this podcast. I lived in Jackson, Mississippi for a few years. I was a sports reporter there, covered Shaquille Moore when he played at Mississippi State. This guy is a 4-year starter, pretty sure he's a 4-year starter. I don't know if he started his freshman year at NC State. This is his third school, right? He started at Mississippi State, and he averaged about 10 points a game. He's a streaky shooter, good player. We could really use Shaquille Moore on the Bearcats. This guy
I think we tried to recruit him, by the way.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. Good memory, Lily. He averages 8 minutes a game on Kansas. AJ Storr, like I mentioned, 19 minutes a game. Like, they have so much talent just not even playing. These guys are rotting away on the bench, and they're good players. I would die for Shaquille Moore right now. So that's kind of my my last kind of takeaway from Kansas is that this team's damn good, but they are beatable because they've been beaten. So who knows? We definitely need to play a perfect game. All right, what?
One more quick thing.
Yeah.
Free throws, getting to the line. You know how we're bad at it? We're bottom 20 in the country at getting to the line. Kansas is the second worst team in the country at getting to the line. So, Saturday, stripes. Swallow the whistle is your first option. Number 2 is give us a home court advantage for once. And just give us a couple 50-50 calls. Just a couple. Like, we need them.
We're calling for the refs to give us an advantage.
Yeah, let's go.
Things are not well. All right, mailbag segment. We got about 9 minutes before we reach the hour mark. So I kind of want to let's make these a little quick hitters.
Blazing.
Yeah. Cincy Huffman. Again, as a mailbag. I think I just said that. But anyway, he said, why doesn't Rayvon Griffith get any run? Genuinely interested to hear where he's so far behind and in what. Cincy Huffman, I'm with you. Get the guy in the game. He can't be worse. Like last year, it's like, okay, maybe Rayvon's not any good. You know, maybe like he's behind some of these guys. I don't care. He has to be able to provide something. The bench, like I said, has scored 10 points in 3 games. Outside Day. I'll put a little asterisk. Outside Day, Thomas. Get him in. I don't care if he doesn't provide scoring. I don't need scoring from Rayvon Griffith. Maybe he's the leader. I see him as a senior in a few years being the leader.
He's the cheerleader.
Yeah. I'm okay. That's all right. Get him in the game. Do you not agree? No.
I disagree.
Okay.
I'll make this quick. The Rayvon thing, it's going to keep popping up if we keep losing, but he wasn't in the rotation against scrubs. And like, I know I trust Wes still. I know a lot of people don't, but I definitely trust Wes enough to know, like, with the fringe guys. And he sent a message in the out of conference saying Rayvon's not ready. And Rayvon had some moments, I thought, like, you can see stuff. Offensive rebounding. He plays hard. He also just shoots it every time he touches the ball, and he can't shoot.
Yeah,
so, like, I like that, though. Like, long term, I like that.
Yeah.
That mentality. But right now, I think it would make us worse.
Okay. I just think he'd
but
play
I get
hard.
it, though. Like, we need to change.
Play hard.
Yeah, he would.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and it looks like these guys didn't play hard, not effort wise, but like they haven't been tenacious.
Yeah,
That's
and I'm not
I'm
coming at you because like it's a very common take, you know.
Yeah.
But I just think we need shooting, and I think
that's true. It's like it's funny.
It's
funny. I'm like, hey guys, we haven't hit any open shots. Nobody on this team could shoot. Hey, let's put in the guy who can't shoot. So I get it, but like I think he brings you other things. But like, what do I know? I mean, he's obviously not out there for a reason.
We're about to get some CJ Frederick though, guys. Be ready.
Yeah. All right. No Hezzy Benny. And now I have 4 questions. 2 of them both kind of paired with each other, 2 and 2. Bearcats sitting at a top 10 defensive rating on KenPom with an 89th ranked offense. Rotational changes feel needed, but it's hard to pinpoint a specific group. What combinations would you like to see to improve the offense? There's an easy answer, I think, that everybody has been saying. And I don't know if you're nodding your head, but I don't know if I hope we have the same answer. It's go small and have 1 big, right? That's what I'm saying. You go 4 guards or 2 guards, 2 wings, and 1 center. I don't think you can have Dylan Mitchell and Aziz out there together.
Yeah, that's one thing. It makes sense in a lot of scenarios, but right now in this stretch, just try something, you know. Let's see. Yeah. We've been seeing Dylan at the 5 a little towards the end of Kansas State and Arizona. I didn't love it, which is scary, but do it in the first half. See what happens. The thing I think that might be a little contrarian right now is I want to see Betsy with the starters. Like, get him out there with good players. I want that 4. Like, so the Mitchell thing at the 4, he's been making a couple threes, but guys aren't guarding him. That's like, you have to have someone out there that guys want to guard. And obviously Betsy right now, maybe teams won't guard him, but
yeah,
we know he's a better shooter than Dylan. I want to see small lineups, or like I want to see our Aziz at the 5, Betsy at the 4. Like, just see what happens. I know Betsy can't defend at this level, but if you just only latch on to the defense and our offense looks like this, then what's the fucking point? Like, switch up the lineup, stagger the bench guys, and it might, honestly, Hickman being out might force Wes into better lineups.
You saw my shocked face when you said Betsy with the starters.
It is contrarian.
Well, no, I for some reason I thought that meant like have Betsy start.
No.
And I know that was my mistake. I'm like, so if you were like, why the hell is Niehaus? Why is Niehaus like giving me this dumbass face? Like that.
But I think a lot of people would have that face though.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Not a Cincy insider asks, do you think that we should consider Lukosius bringing the ball up the floor more to initiate the offense? Maybe have him set more screens when he isn't on the ball. Would also like to see a lineup of Jizzle, Day-Day, Seamoss, Skillings, and Mitchell/Aziz more 4 shooters in there. I mean, it's exactly what we just said, right?
Yeah.
Don't want to spend too much time on this other than would you like to see Lukosius bring the ball up the floor and initiate the offense?
It's interesting because, sure, he did last year.
Try something. Try something.
With Hickman being out, I think when they brought Hickman in, they looked at him as like the third ball handler. So I think that's actually going to happen. Whoever asked the question, I'm not looking at it in front of me, but I had notes on it. So I think it's going to happen. I think we actually saw it versus Baylor a little. We saw some CMOS stuff that felt different, where he was coming up with the ball, maybe not just coming up, but getting it earlier. Try something. It's been that bad. Try anything but Aziz point guard. I'm in.
Yeah, I mean, hey, they mentioned it on the post-game show. Aziz, when he got the ball early on in the game against Baylor, he tried to dribble drive and it got stolen from him on the second dribble. Oh my God. Oh God. Nathan Prophet asks, when does Wes abandon the 5 out? Our bigs set terrible screens that get no one open, and the slip screens to the paint do not work either. We have subpar shooters on this team and no one that can create their own shot regularly. Offense looks confused. This brings up a good point, and I just now thought of it as I'm reading that question. So multitasking, the fact that I can answer that or read that out loud and have a completely other thought, like the human brain is wild. But anyway, how hard is it? And that sounded sarcastic. It's extremely hard to throw a lob from the top of the key into the paint. Like that's not an angle that you want to be throwing a lob at, and it's hard to catch. Like I'm if you're watching on YouTube, like I'm twisting, like Aziz rolling, facing the basket, and you're at the top of the key, and you're gonna throw a lob. Like he has to contort his body backwards. Like that's a tough play. That's a low percentage play. And I love the lobs, but not from the top of the key, which like they've been slipping like crazy. And they do set bad screens. So, yeah, I don't know what. But like, does he abandon it? No. We're in game 15. Don't abandon your like that. Like you practice this all year. Like you can't just abandon that, right?
Yeah. My thing is every team is seeing what we're doing right now. Every team is game planning, and they just it looks so easy to guard us. So I'm open for change. I'm not a coach. I don't know what we should do other than I do truly believe if we just start making a couple open shots, because I know the half-court offense looks like crap. It does. But this is college basketball. You can win games looking like crap on offense. We know that, we're Bearcats fans. So my thing is, make some shots, guys. Like we've had open shots versus Arizona and Kansas State and Baylor. Make them and then see if things open up, because right now teams, they're playing us the same way because they can. And you have to change that. And I think the best way to change that is just to make shots.
Simple as that. Hey, Mark Titus, one of my favorite. Well, he doesn't really do. I guess he does have a podcast about college basketball.
One shining podcast.
Yeah, but one of my favorite bits that he always used to do is, you can't win games at this level if you miss shots. Like that was a recurring bit. He's like, at this level, you have to make shots. It's like, yeah, it's such an easy thing. Like, yeah, like obviously, but it's not obvious.
That doesn't apply to us.
No, we need to make shots. Like we're missing shots.
Yeah.
Like, God, like it's like like it seems so easy, but it's not. Like they're missing shots. That's it. That's all I got. Four good mailbag questions. Thanks everybody for asking them. We went through pretty much everything. Just reached a little bit over an hour. So make sure you're with us after the Kansas game. No, we had a lot to talk about. It was like it was like an emergency pod. Yeah, make sure you're with us after the Kansas game. I'm sure Chuck and Houdini will do that post-game show. We'll obviously do the midweek show again next week. Make sure you subscribe. Please subscribe to us on YouTube and on Spotify. That goes a long way for us. That's all I got, Lily. Go Bearcats.
Go Cats.